What's up and welcome to the gaming news of the week you might have missed. First, starting with Moon Studio unveils the No Rest for the Wicked early access launch trailer. In celebration of early access launch of the game, which just dropped on April 18th, Moon Studios and Power Division have presented the latest launch trailer for the early access of No Rest for the Wicked, an action RPG with a top-down view and gritty story. This trailer showcases the game's pictorial style and offers a glimpse into the story and some of the characters that the players will be able to interact with. It's currently available on Steam at the price of $35.99. Players who purchase No Rest for the Wicked during the early access period may receive the Cetrum armor set. Once purchased on Steam, No Rest for the Wicked can also be played in the cloud through NVIDIA GeForce Now subscriptions and separate registration required for that, offering players instant access to PC level performance with a GeForce on any PC, Mac, Shield TV, Android, iOS device, or Chromebook without the need to download the game. And if you want to save a little bit more money on this game, it is also available on CD Keys for at least a little bit cheaper. You can check it out. Link in the description below. I am partnered with CD Keys, so if you use my link and decide to get it that way, it helps support the channel. Next up, Darkest Dungeon 2 announces exclusive version for PlayStation. So Red Hook Studios has announced that Darkest Dungeon 2 will be available on PS5 and PS4 on July 15th. These versions of the game are now available for pre-order. In a pack including the game and its DLC, the Binding Blade with the Oblivion pack will also be offered. Darkest Dungeon 2 originally released on PC in 2023. We were eager to bring Darkest Dungeon 2 to PlayStation players, says the design director Tyler Sigmund. The game feels great with the DualSense. We've been able to add touches like the hero's heartbeat or the sound of mechanisms activating traps. Darkest Dungeon found a strong community on PlayStation, and we hope that repeats with the sequel. The game takes us through 5 campaigns, each with its own mechanics and bosses. Each expedition lasts from 30 minutes to several hours. Even an early end will provide you with resources that you can use to improve your next journey, explains the studio. As you progress, heroes will bond or clash, leading to necessary combat synergies or dysfunctions that spell the end of the journey. Manage your stress and interactions to keep the team together until the bitter end. Face the chaos of a shattered world. A new mode inspired by the original Kingdoms was recently announced, where players race against the clock to defeat monsters before they destroy the kingdom, which is made up of a network of safe ends. The battles are extremely fun. The new dynamic of relationships forged between our heroes adds a lot of life to the match, and its ability to push you to the limit and make you survive the impossible will keep you totally absorbed during the dozens of hours you will spend traveling towards the terrifying mountain that awaits and always looms on the horizon. Then there is some new Witcher 3 news going on here. So CD Projekt Red has released the mod editor for The Witcher 3. Players can now sign up to get ahead of the rest by testing The Witcher 3 Red Kit. From the Pole Studio, they assured that the tools fans will be able to use are identical to those used by their developers to create it. Additionally, they describe it as a space that offers practically unlimited freedom to give you your own touch to the game to taste. The Witcher 3 Red Kit is still in development phase, although fans have been informed that they can already try it out. If you wish to access this space, you'll need to request permission through the Steam page. The lucky ones chosen to try it out will be able to create their own weapons, items, missions, characters, and even expansions. From their studio, they claim that this software is much more than a development mechanism. In fact, they say that for them, it is a love letter to their audience and their best show of gratitude. Finally, they point out that they are intrigued to see what players are capable of doing with this software. So to reiterate and remind you guys, access to the program will not be available to all users at once, but in waves. Red Kit is still in beta phase, so it's possible that some elements may not work correctly. For any issues encountered in the editor, CD Projekt Red asks that they be reported to technical support. Obviously, a licensed copy of The Witcher 3 is required for Red Kit to work properly. Players will be able to create their own versions of Geralt's adventures and his companions, including quest chains, locations, animations, and dialogues. Users will have virtually no limitations when materializing their creative ideas, as developers will provide almost all the tools used to create The Witcher 3. That sounds very cool. I personally have not, beaten Witcher yet. I own it on PS5 and, did the PS5 upgrade or anything like that. But this is going to encourage me to get the PC version and try it out. And honestly, if this is something you're really into and hyped for, you maybe don't own the game yet, you may want to look into getting it on Steam. There's also a version of it available on CD Keys. I'm partnering with them, as I mentioned before. And if you don't mind getting the GOG version of this for the PC version, then it's available right now on CD Keys, the complete edition for this game, for $11.29 USD. Hades 2 is gearing up for its technical test on Steam. Hades 2 Trial will allow Supergiant Games Studio to find and resolve technical issues in the sequel to the award-winning action roguelike set in Greek mythology, announced back in December of 2022. This is an awesome thing they're doing. I love it. I wish more devs would do this overall, just to allow people. I know this is not going to be built for everybody to get into, but it's always good, I feel like, when devs do this, to allow, play tests to happen and be available to the public to at least some of them get into. That way they can get some player feedback, things like that. I believe in the early access model too, even though I know some people disagree with it and you're paying for it. But let's be real, like, this is a good way to allow the player base, the fan base, to give the developers feedback. Plus, 9 times out of 10, you're paying a much cheaper price when you get the early access of the game versus the launch version anyway. So you're essentially saving money in the long run overall. And you get some usually extra benefits from getting the early access version, once the full launch of the game does happen. According to reports, this trial will have much less content than the early access, but it will ensure a much smoother launch. Players will be able to play through the first area, but progress cannot be transferred to early access version of the game, which makes sense. Initially, this trial will be available to a limited number of players, but as they fix issues, more people will be added. In theory, it should be active more than a week, but less than a month, but its duration will depend on the issues encountered by players. So if you want how to participate in the Hades 2 technical test, those who wish to apply for access to technical tests only need to go to the game's page within Steam, register or log in, and click on Request Access in the box related to the test. Once requested, they will have to wait until they receive a notification when the developer is ready to add more participants. Shortly after completing the test, when they consider the game stable enough, they will launch Hades 2 in early access. Unfortunately, got some bad news here for this next part of the gaming news. So, Take-Two Interactive joins the wave of layoffs in the industry. This is just getting more and more ridiculous, in my opinion, guys. Take-Two Interactive has announced its plans to abandon development of several video games, a decision made in the context of a cost-saving campaign that will also result in the dismissal of 5% of its workforce. Now, that may not seem like a lot to you, but that's still a good chunk of people that are without a job, got families that they got to provide for, bills paid, things like that, that have to find new work, and not all of them are going to land on their feet. If you don't know, the video game developer and distributor, which encompasses studios like Rockstar Games, 2K, and Zynga, responsible for titles such as Grand Theft Auto, Civilization, and Farmville, aims to discontinue various projects as part of its cost-saving strategy. These titles that, have been canceled or have not been disclosed yet, we may never know. The company's workforce, previously consisting of 11,580 employees, as per internal documents accessed by Bloomberg, now is going to be less. I think it was reported it's like 500 to 600 employees or so, essentially make up that 5% that got laid off. And the company claims through this process, they expect to save up to $200 million. Of this amount, $140 million will be attributed to the canceled projects and $35 million to workforce-related expenses. This move comes shortly after the CEO of the developer, Strauss Zelnick, mentioned in the third quarter earnings report of 2023 that they were working on a significant cost reduction program to maximize profit margins. CEO confirmed that the largest portion of their expenses was allocated to marketing and that there were no plans to include layoffs in the restructuring of their business strategy. Well, he lied, obviously. He went against his word, clearly, because there are layoffs that are happening right now. Like, this is ridiculous. And I'm very passionate about this because, I personally got laid off from a job. I was doing work from home twice, mind you. Second time was the last straw for me because I got no return date given. And I went into full-time streaming and content creation to try and help make a living for myself. So I feel for these people that get laid off or fired out of nowhere like this and don't have, a backup plan or enough money saved up to cover their bills for at least a few months or whatever, or can't get a new job right away type of situation and got families to take care of, stuff like that. So, or, maybe they moved to work for, like they had to move cities and states to move, or even a country to work for this developer, and then they just get let go like this. Lied by their CEO that they're not going to. The CEO made it seem like they were not going to lay off anyone as part of the restructuring business strategy. But here we are. They laid off people, and they've essentially ruined lives. And they're not the only company to do this. Other companies out there are guilty of this, from like Microsoft to Sony to Ubisoft, etc. This is something that needs to change, and it's ridiculous, I say too, because you got indie developers who have spoken out about how they haven't had to lay anybody off. They have found ways around it to where they don't have to lay anybody off. Everybody still has a job, and essentially are calling out the AAA developers on their shit when it comes to this. Like, I'm always honest, I'm always real. I'm keeping real with you guys. This is ridiculous because, if there are smaller studios that have been able to not lay anyone off at all, AAA companies can do it too. The problem is with these AAA big companies is they're greedy as fuck. And they only care about profit. They don't care about people. They just they treat their employees, like a meat grinder in a sense, where it's like, we're just going to hire who we need and we'll just get rid of who we don't need later on. Essentially not giving a crap about how that affects them when it comes to their mental health, how it affects their families, how it affects their financial situations, all that. This is messed up. And it's also crazy because you're literally about to release arguably the biggest video game in history, Grand Theft Auto 6, next year, which is going to make you a stupid amount of money. And then on top of that, I know they've been making, dirty money or whatever, just crazy money with the GTA Online stuff and other things too. Like, come on. Lastly, going to end off here with some Ghost of Tsushima news. Sony announces crossplay and system requirements for Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut for PC. So if you didn't know, the PC version of this game is coming out next month in May. It will set to release on May 16th. And it's available for pre-purchase on Steam and Epic Game Store. So this is going to include support for NVIDIA DLSS3 and AMD FSR3, which support upscaling and frame generation. It also supports Intel XeSS, as well as native smoothing modes for FSR and DLSS. This runs the game at native resolution, but uses scalar smoother to enhance image quality. So aside from the scaling and frame generation stuff, Sony says the PC version will support aspect ratios of 21:9 and 32:9 for ultra-wide screens, and even aspect ratios of 48:9 and configurations for 3 monitors. It seems that the game will have 4 graphics preset settings covering a wide range of compatible hardware. The game will come to PC with the same content as the PS4 and PS5 versions, basic full game and the Iki Island expansion, and Legends cooperative mode. PC players will be able to play with those on PS4 and PS5 and use voice chat in Legends. Additionally, this title debuts a new PlayStation overlay, which includes our list of friends, trophies, settings, and profile used on Sony systems. It's an optional feature that we can activate with a keyboard shortcut. While playing the PC version, therefore, we can unlock trophies exactly the same as the console version. The good news is that this does not exclude Steam and Epic Games Store achievements. They will also be included. The only requirement to use these new features, like overlay, trophy system, friends, etc., is to connect with a PlayStation account. In addition, Nixxes, I believe the developer that's porting this to PlayStation porting this to PC, has also published the recommended hardware. So as you can see here, this covers, from very low, medium, high to very high here. Take a bit here to look at it, look over it. There are some key specifications to pay attention to. First, storage. An SSD is not explicitly required to run the game. However, Sony recommends playing a game with one. We saw how a spinning hard drive can hinder PS5 games ported to PC with Ratchet & Clank, Rift Apart, for example. So you should plan to install Ghost of Tsushima on an SSD. Additionally, the medium preset requires a GPU with 6 gigabytes of VRAM. We've seen a growing trend with VRAM issues in modern games, like The Last of Us Part 1, for example, that had a terrible PC launch, but it doesn't seem to be an issue here. If you have an 8 gigabytes graphics card, you should be safe to run the game smoothly, at least at lower resolutions. So hopefully this will, alleviate some worries, and things like that, compared to previous PlayStation games that have been ported to PC. I don't know, have to wait and see. I'm hoping to try this out sometime in the future too on PC versus the PS5 version because I love this game. Ghost of Tsushima is a fantastic game overall. I'm hoping there's a sequel actually in the works. You know, we've been hearing rumors. I know there's been like, I think confirmed a Ghost of Tsushima movie in the works as well. So I don't know how well it's going to be, but hopefully it's good. And if you are interested in pre-ordering it, it is available on Steam and Epic Store. It is going to be $59.99, so $60 plus tax. But if you want to save some money, as I've been talking about throughout this entire video, I am partnered with CD Keys. You can go to CD Keys right now and pre-order that way for a little bit cheaper. It is available there for $49.09 USD. Just so you know, link in the description, click on it, help support the channel if you decide to go that route. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Let me know your thoughts on the news this week. You know, what stuff you're excited about, what things are you're upset about and concerned about, things like that. Love to hear from you. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like, subscribe if you're new. My name's Mike. Thanks for watching.